speaking of Japanese baseball, post-war Japanese baseball.
Hey, there we go.
We've got the Yasujiro Ozu film, Late Spring.
Another
which
famous.
We could do a plot summary of this, but it's really just Noriko is 27. That's too old to not be married. And everyone's like, when are you gonna get married? And she's like, I don't want to.
Never.
And that is the whole movie, basically.
I mean, not incorrect. Yeah, I mean, as per this being an Ozu movie, there's lots of domestic scenes of people in houses just kind of eating dinner.
Yeah.
Which I think depends. How much that works for you, I think, depends kind of on just how much you vibe with Ozu's whole deal.
Yeah.
I think the other Ozu movie that we watched from like 1939 or whatever.
Early 30s. It was the silent one. I Was Born But.
I liked I Was Born But more. I mean, that was like more of like a childhood coming of age movie kind of.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a like you're too old not to be married movie.
Yeah,
which I didn't quite connect to as much.
I think, there's interesting stuff going on in this movie, certainly.
Yeah.
But it is like a kind of meditation on a kind of cultural phenomenon that feels, I think, so foreign to us that it's hard to like really understand what they're going for. I mean, like there's a lot of like arranged marriage stuff in this movie, and like there's a lot of like saying 27, can you believe it? Like, and I feel like there's a bit of expectation maybe that the audience has a bit of ambivalence about this, like because the movie has a bit of ambivalence about it.
Yeah.
And it's like presenting an argument between two things that feel so unlike our own reality, to
a certain degree, I think there are some fairly universal kind of ideas just of like just like what is expected of someone and like at what age you're supposed to do things by. And like if you're single, if you're like who are you gonna be with, and it's like just shut up about it. Like I'm doing other things,
right?
But yeah, I think a lot of the details of it do feel fairly specific to post-war Japan, which are things that me personally I didn't connect to as much. But
I thought you kind of came of age in the 40s, 50s in Tokyo.
As a common misconception about me. But I still like, I think the performances in the movie are phenomenal. Like, I think that there's a lot of, again, it sort of feels like an Ozu thing. There's a lot of things that are unspoken or things that are kind of communicated just through like glances and body language.
It's incredibly understated. And I think that like one of the cool things about this movie and about his movies in general is they are about, I went over the plot extremely quickly because
that's like
they're
things
about
happen in the movie, but it's all coming back to that central idea.
It's like the movies are his movies really just seem to be like zooming in on extremely specific real life experiences.
Yeah.
And there isn't anything crazy or fantastical. You're not like finding the love of your life in on a subway in New York. That's for later.
Well, because I think it is an interesting contrast of like two Japanese movies released the same year.
Yeah.
One's a Kurosawa movie, one's an Ozu movie. They could not be more different in terms of like how they feel, how they play as movies, right? Like Kurosawa movie is a like pretty fast-paced, like detective crime procedural.
He has more Western sensibilities, I would say.
Sure, yeah.
Or at least Western sensibilities
but it's also
are
like
more
it's
in line
it's
with
real
the Kurosawa.
It's very like it's like high drama, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's life and death stakes. It's like really
it's the stuff that you make movies about.
Right, yeah. And Ozu is like, I don't care about any of that crap. Like I want to make a movie about like what are people thinking at dinner.
Which is legit. I mean, I think that like, because you have an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you're spending however much money on it. You kind of expect to have a certain amount of bombast in a movie, right?
Yeah.
And is that necessary?
But it's I also think a thing about Ozu movies is like they're so understated that like when something does happen that's like a little dramatic, it feels bombastic.
Yeah.
Right? Like it makes a thing where like someone's like smile like faltering is like, "Oh my god. This is huge."
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if you can get on the wavelength, then it can be very rewarding.
Yeah. But if you can't, this movie is extremely boring.
Right. And I think I felt both of those things while watching it.
Yeah,
Like, I think there were points where I was like, oh man, like this movie's like really, like, is like very understated, but is like really pulling off some like very emotional things just through like a lot of like very subtle filmmaking choices.
Yeah.
And there are other times I'm just like, I'm ready for this scene to be over. I mean, I think like Ozu does a thing a lot in this movie, which I think is sort of a bit of his like one of his directorial staples, where like a scene will happen, often all in one shot, that is like from the doorway, and then the character will leave the room, and it doesn't cut away for another like minute.
Yeah, I mean not a minute, but like,
but it will just like stay on an empty room for like a couple of beats.
And all of cinematic language expects that to mean that somebody's going to come back, or like something's going to develop.
Right, yeah, like a box is going to open and someone's going to come out, or whatever.
Like something's going to happen because the camera is just lingering, but it's more just like, I don't know, sit there and think about that for a second.
Right, exactly. But that's like, I think that it kind of works for that, where you just, right, I think you to enjoy an Ozu movie, you have to really be like, you have to be very like zen about it. You have to just be like, I'm just ready to like watch a bunch of like really calming, or just like not even calming, but just like very slow paced,
sedate.
Yeah, things happen.
This is the thing. It's like, I don't think that is necessary. That style is not necessary to make a movie that is about such small stakes and such a subtle personal, interpersonal interactions. And so like it is made more difficult because his style kind of emphasizes that smallness and that mundanity by making it in a quote unquote boring way.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I say boring. Like, I don't think there's a single shot in this movie that looks bad.
Yeah. It's elegant. It's elegantly shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think probably some of my sort of waning attention also just came about from just like, right. I contrary to popular opinion, I did not come of age in post-war Japan, and this movie is so much about like very specific cultural, kind of like conflicts.
Yeah. That
are like pretty intrinsic to like that time and place.
And it's also dealing with something I gather is relatively old-fashioned even at that point.
Right, yeah.
It's about these, I mean, a lot of the dynamic in this movie is between an old-fashioned perspective and a newer perspective, but it's not even always the younger person who has the newer perspective or the less old-fashioned one, because, you know, there's a way that you kind of look at everybody in this movie and you're like, I don't agree with any of you, because the person who is 27 and rebelling against the idea that she should be married is rebelling because she has kind of settled into this subservient, like, mother to her own father kind of relationship, that she feels like she's already married to her widower dad.
Right.
That she's like, I like my life the way that it is, where I'm serving you as a wife would be serving would be serving a husband. You know, there's ways that you could dig into that. Certainly there's a lot of there's a word that's for Oedipal, but the other direction. I don't know. The not the other, you know what I mean. But like there's a word for
Gender
that.
swapped Oedipal complex.
Right. There's another like Greek figure or something that's like that. But anyway, that kind of deal. So the 27-year-old young person is having like all of these extremely traditional viewpoints that even her parents are like calm down, you know.
Yeah. And, like, don't you want to like travel and like meet people and do things?
No, I just want to
serve you tea.
serve you tea and take your coat, you know.
Yeah.
But then all the other people are like, you know, the way out of this is to get married to someone that you don't know. An arranged marriage. Also, you're quickly becoming a spinster at 27.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I think is... I don't know if the movie is presenting that as old-fashioned. I think that was still in the late 40s a little bit of like, if you're not married by 27, you're it's never going to happen. Like, I think that was still true in a lot of America also.
Sure. Yeah. But
I think it's still true in a lot of America today. So, and I was noticing a lot of, not necessarily clashing, but just like a mix of like very traditional Japanese like furniture and clothing, and a lot of much more kind of for the 40s contemporary. Like in the house where Noriko lives with her dad, there is like the traditional kind of like very, you know, low to the ground table. We just sit on the ground and eat dinner. But then they have like a tea room that has like wicker chairs that are more kind of Western style. And I don't really know enough about like the shifting of like Japanese culture in the 1940s to know like how much, I guess, like meaning is imparted through all of those things.
yeah, definitely
definitely
Japan has had a complex relationship with Western influence on aesthetics. I've seen movies that like, maybe we've talked about movies that like talk about like wearing a suit,
Right?
like as this kind of, you know, you'd wear like a like more traditional Japanese garb.
I think that might have
like,
been in the other Ozu movie that we watched. And yeah, so it is like I can tell that there is like story being told there, but I am not I'm not smart enough, or I was well versed enough to fully unpack like all of the meaning that is being imparted.
But as you were saying, like there's a lot of specifics about the way the story works that we might not directly relate to, but it gets at certain kind of essential human things within it. In terms of like wanting the best for somebody, wanting to see someone like grow out of a way that they're stuck,
right? Being a caregiver versus sort of like doing what you want to, you know. I mean, Noriko doesn't really want to do anything besides be a caregiver, but it is like, I think that like there's a bit where she says like, I've been so selfish, and she's saying that in relation to, I just want to stay home and serve you and like help you with stuff. Yeah. Which is like the very fact that idea is that she's like, oh shit, that's like really selfish of me, is really, I don't know, I found that kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I think this whole movie felt kind of heartbreaking to me, and that might be another reason why I feel a little lukewarm on it.
It's because it's like an ambient bummer the whole time.
Ambient bummer is a really good phrase. Like, I don't think this is a bad movie by any stretch. I think it's like, I really like how much it is able to do with so little. Like, that is kind of Ozu's whole deal, I guess, is that it's like, he's like, there's one shot, it's on the floor the whole time, like, and then by the end of it, you're like, oh yeah, I feel like I've seen a whole thing. Like his very observational style of just like, it's very like kind of like everything's wide shot, very few close-ups. It does kind of feel like you're just kind of sitting in the corner of the room watching scenes play out. But yeah, I think like just the story that this is telling is so kind of, and it doesn't feel like it has sort of a big moment of catharsis. It doesn't have like a big kind of like hooray ending. It's just kind of like, oh, and that's what happened. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, you know, along with, you know, ambient bummer, there is just utter ambivalence through this whole movie. Everybody in the movie except her aunt, who is driven in one direction the entire time of get her married. Everybody has
and get her dad married.
Right. Big marriage booster.
Yeah.
But like everybody has this kind of ambivalence to them. So you're watching an ambivalent person and another ambivalent person who have are on different poles a little bit of ambivalence, and then an ambivalent movie on top of that. So it's just the movie doesn't have a big moment of conclusion because everybody's just like, I don't know what I want. I don't feel good in any scenario, but I guess this is what happens. You know?
And there's a lot of different characters will present differing viewpoints on marriage too. There's at the beginning, Noriko was like, I never want to get married, but I also think that if you marry someone and they die, you should never get remarried. They're like, that is gross and indecent and filthy.
Yeah. So conservative. Yeah.
But then also it's just I don't care about marriage. That's not what it's on one hand is very dismissive. On the other hand is the sanctity of marriage is just too important.
Right.
And then someone else sort of, I guess, paraphrases an off-screen character saying that marriage is life's graveyard, which is another great phrase. And I think there was maybe another one that is someone had some kind of very direct kind of viewpoint that they voice about marriage. But you're right. It's we see characters who are, there's a widow, there are widowers, there's someone who's been divorced and is doesn't really want to get remarried, and hates their ex-husband with a passion.
Yeah, she's the best character, actually.
My favorite character, for sure. And so it's it's not a movie that is really, I think, attempting to sort of have a strong thesis at the end. It's not this is, this is the point we're trying to make. It's just sort of
it's not didactic. It's
right.
It's just that's life.
Right. It's giving you a lot of opposing viewpoints on one thing, and kind of seeing a bit of a prismatic view, as it were.
Another thing this movie does, which I think is kind of interesting and leads you to feel a little emotionally off kilter with it, is there is a lot of people kind of accepting circumstances that they don't like with a smile, smiling through something that is causing them pain. Yeah, and they're smiling so aggressively that
Noriko especially is smiling 90% of the movie.
Yeah, and it's there are moments where it cracks.
Yeah,
and you're I don't believe anything that you're smiling about right now. Right. You know, and her smiling is so overdone that it feels like everyone around her is being naive when they take it at face value. She is, when she's in a situation that she doesn't like, but she knows that everybody just wants her to go along. She smiles, but it's so clearly fake. And but because she's doing the thing that she's supposed to do, and everyone's begging her to do the thing that she's supposed to do, they're kind of just let's just believe that that's real, so that we can keep going with getting you arranged married or whatever. It's a lot of tragedy that you can. It's just these situations where you just wish you're why don't you pay attention to what's obviously happening here? You know?
Yeah. A lot of baseball talk in this movie too.
Yes.
Which is what we started with, but we never really looped back on.
Yes, the Japanese love baseball, and another character who, this and Snow Dogs, they have a kind of key character who you just don't really see for the whole movie. You do end up seeing him at the end of that movie, but
Stray Dog, you mean.
Where there's her suitor, or her betrothed, is
the person she is
set up with.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, you remember you really like that baseball movie with Gary Cooper? He looks like Gary Cooper.
Yeah. Which now I also want to be what What movie were they talking about?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Which baseball movie did Gary Cooper?
It seems like it's referring to something specific.
But yeah, it's funny the amount of times that they name drop Gary Cooper in this movie. And also, yeah, wild that like that character is never shown on screen.
Yeah. Probably because they couldn't find somebody who really just captured Gary Cooper's essence.
Yeah. I mean, I think this movie does a lot that I think is another kind of like Ozu staple is it will kind of skip over what you would traditionally think is like a very important scene in a movie. And it will just like go ahead to like what the next scene will be, and it will just be people talking about what happened as opposed to showing it, which I think normally I would find very frustrating, but it's like such a deliberate choice in this case where I'm just like, okay, like that's a choice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking back to like Todd Browning, Dracula, that we talked about on the show. Is like that is a movie that will often just have people like point out windows and be like, look out there, something's happening. I'm like, yeah, show us, please. And it never does, and that just feels frustrating because it's like they only built one set, whereas this is sort of like it's like not giving. It's like deliberately skipping over like the most dramatic scenes almost. Which is just like Ozu's just like, no, quieter, more sedate.
Yes, I think the title is kind of neat. Like it's you know, it's her late spring. It's like if you think of like, you know, the seasons as someone's life, right? She's stuck in an earlier phase, right? So her kind of mid part of her life, her summer, is being like kind of put on hold for a while in sort of traditional viewpoint,
right?
And yeah, I think it's kind of it's like a nice little.
Well, it's like marriage could be seen as spring, right? A new beginning, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's the end. This movie is about the end of the beginning of someone's life.
Yeah. A couple just stray things that not a stray thing. A pretty important thing is like the last scene of the movie is after Noriko has gone through with her arranged marriage. She's moved out of the house. We see her dad come back to the house, which he said like, oh, like he's like really happy. He's like told people like, oh, I'm like really happy that she finally has like moved on with her life. And it also reveals that, right, like the only reason Noriko agreed to the arranged marriage is because she thought that her dad was getting remarried, which then he reveals was a lie. He didn't really intend on doing that. And then he returns home to his empty house and starts peeling an apple, sadly. And he peels the whole apple in one, you know, continuous spiral.
Yeah.
Which is a callback to earlier in the movie when Noriko is kind of flirting with Hattori, who's her dad's assistant, who's engaged. Talking about how, like, was it like peeling pickles all in one thing is like a sign that you're jealous. I'm a little shaky on the exact metaphor that was being made in that scene.
Pickled radishes, I think.
Pickled radishes is what it was. And Hattori is like, I don't think that like peeling radishes has anything to do with jealousy. Like there's no correlation there, but it's like, right. It's like, that is a callback to a really early scene in the movie. And it is sort of like, oh yeah, like he's not happy. He's feeling it all in one piece. That means he's jealous.
Yeah, I mean the lie makes the dad seem a little more like sinister, maybe like calculating.
Sinister I think is too strong a word, but it does. Callous is maybe a better word. Maybe it was like, oh, like he was also just like manipulating her into this thing that she didn't really want to do.
Yeah, and it seems like he is a bit more empathetic to her situation for most of the movie. Like he's a more even-handed than his sister,
right,
who is very on task, right? And talking about like hidden reactions with her smiling through the whole movie, right? Like half of what her dad does in this whole movie is just smile and go, right, like that's half of his lines are and like he's just kind of yesing stuff. He's kind of agreeing, but like you can't tell. He's like hiding so much whether he actually agrees.
Right. It feels like that last scene is like one of the only times we like actually see him like without any sort of like affect.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking while I was watching this, even with Noriko, it takes a while. It takes until her facade breaks for you to get a bit, like,
Right.
get a
Which
true
is
idea
like
of who
halfway
she
through
is.
the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like, I remember thinking, I'm spending so much time with these people, but I feel like I don't know them.
Right.
I feel like I'm being prevented from knowing
Right, because
them
you're
very
only
well.
seeing the facade
Yeah.
that they're presenting
Yeah.
to other people. Yeah. Her dad at one point says, "I'm 56, so I'm nearing the end of my life." I was like, "Oh damn!" Life expectancy not what it or it has improved somewhat. He does have a sort of whole mini kind of monologue where he, in so many words, says like happiness only comes through effort, which
It's a perspective.
Yeah.
He was kind of saying,
I don't know
like,
if I fully agree with that, but
like-
I like the way that scene was written.
yeah. I mean, what he's basically doing is, in view of the end of the movie, you can kind of say, like, he wants his daughter to get married, so he is telling her what she needs to hear in order to have the explicit goal of being married.
Well,
and he's
it's
like,
like-
you might hate him for the first couple years, for the first 5-10 years, but the real happiness is working on it, is finding a way to make it work and finding a way to like him. And the most important thing is being married.
Right. Which, I mean, I don't agree with that part. But, like, I do, I guess, like the idea of, like, happiness is not a, like, passive state as so much as it is, like, it's something you actively have to, like, pursue or create for yourself. That was
Yeah.
the part where I was a bit more like, I'm like, this is hitting for me now.
It's interesting. I think it's like an interesting perspective, but it almost feels warped a little bit because it's saying happiness is something you have to work for, like, and finding happiness is working within a shitty situation, not making your situation better.
Right.
Which
Right. That's the part I'm a little
Yeah.
shakier on. Yeah. Another thing I thought was interesting is there's kind of pretty briefly mentioned that like a couple characters mention how like Noriko is like looking a lot better, and then someone brings up how she was during World War II in a forced labor camp, and had to like carry potatoes home after, or I don't know if it was like a camp, but was like. There's like very brief mention of like during the war her having some like illness, and everyone's like, oh, she's looking a lot better than she used to. She's like, it's sort of implied that she was like incredibly underweight or something, and it's like not really expanded upon, but that was one of the few parts of this movie that is like explicitly kind of like post World War II, I guess. Again, as another thing where I'm like, I feel like I don't know enough about what they're talking about to like fully unpack it, but it at least sparked. I was like, I wanted to know more about what was going on there.
would you like to know more?
Yes, even though I'm sure it will be a bummer to read about.